Hello everyone. Today I'm going to talk to you about computational thinking. We'll discuss what it is, why it is important, how to implement it in your classroom, and look at some of the standards that relate to it. So when thinking about computational thinking, I'm sure that you just connected it to computers and technology, and although it can and often does involve technology, computational thinking is much more than that, and it involves the way we process information. Computational thinking is a basic problem-solving process which can be applied to any discipline, whether that be math, science, or some of the humanities. Students who learn computational thinking across curriculum can begin to see a relationship between subjects as well as between school and life outside of the classroom. Computational thinking ultimately needs to be a fundamental part of the way we think and understand the world. So there are many reasons why computational thinking is important, especially for students. Students who become proficient in computational thinking begin to be more precise with their language, base their decisions on data, use a systematic way of thinking to recognize patterns and trends, and break down larger problems into smaller pieces which they can solve easier. Students that become proficient in computational thinking also become more confident in dealing with complex problems. They're more persistent in solving difficult problems, but they become tolerant for ambiguity within problems. They're able to deal with open-ended problems, and they're better able to communicate and work with others to find solutions or achieve goals. There are many ways to incorporate computational thinking within your classroom. These are just a few suggestions that I've come up with. So you can immerse students in the problem-solving process, and this can be done in individual or group level. You can also teach students how to break down problems into their smaller components, and then they can apply that idea to larger and more complex tasks. Providing students with opportunities to explore different solutions is another great way to help students use computational thinking. Finally, having students apply their computational thinking skills in various subjects is also extremely beneficial. So concepts of computational thinking can be seen within the ISTE standards for teachers and students. First, we'll look at the standards for teachers. Computational thinking involves thinking critically and creatively. So as teachers, you need to make sure that you are facilitating that type of thinking within your classroom. The first ISTE standard for teachers hits on just that concept. Computational thinking and technology often go hand in hand, as we kind of talked about earlier. So you need to make sure that you can correctly model the effective use of technology for your students. And the third ISTE standard for teachers touches on that point. Concepts of computational thinking can also be seen in the ISTE standards for students. Students should be able to analyze and evaluate information, as well as apply that information to different situations and tasks. This can be seen in the third ISTE standard for students. As we discussed with the teacher standards, it is important for students to think critically and creatively. This type of thinking ultimately helps students to problem solve and make decisions. This can be seen in the fourth ISTE standard for students. I've selected a few of the SC Computer Science and Digital Literacy standards from 2nd and 6th grade. So I'll start with 2nd grade. In the first standard that I selected, students are supposed to be able to classify computing devices based on their purpose. Another standard that I chose involved recognizing how to use software on different computing devices. So one way to cover these standards in the classroom is to provide students with access to various types of technology whenever possible. Students are more likely to understand and remember the purpose of different devices if they are able to use these devices. They are also able to recognize the software that controls the devices if they have experience with them. Within a second grade class, these standards would be addressed in a very general and basic level. In sixth grade, the standards would address more complex tasks at a much higher level. Students should be able to describe key components of devices. And as you can see, the standards kind of build upon one another between the grades. So this standard came from the classifying devices standard that we saw in second grade, but it delves deeper into certain types of devices. Allowing students to access technology is the best way for students to understand how these different devices operate and the different components that are within them. Another standard that I chose involves how to use technology to solve problems. For this standard, it would be beneficial to have students work on their problem-solving skills and then incorporate technology. As teachers, you need to provide students with as many opportunities to solve relevant problems and use technology within the classroom. I hope that this presentation has helped you to develop a deeper understanding of what computational thinking is, why it's so important for students to learn, and how to incorporate it into your classroom.